And this is Real Estate Underground.
Greetings and salutations, Real Estate Undergrounders. This is Ed Matthews with the Real Estate Underground podcast. Thank you so much for joining us today. This is a really cool conversation. I actually read this guy's ebook a couple of weeks ago, but I've known of him for a while. And, from a real estate perspective, as well as from a mindset perspective, I think today's going to be a really interesting conversation. So Matthew Ace Haggerty, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for your time today, and looking forward to getting into this.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate you having me on. I love, like we talked about before the show, I love talking about real estate. I love talking about mindset. So we're gonna rock and roll for these 25 minutes. That's for darn sure.
Well, all right. Well, let's get into it. So for those folks out there who haven't heard of you or haven't come across you yet, why don't you give us a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, I like to tell people I am the real estate investor that you ask when you want to know, let me phrase this properly. I'm the guy you ask of how to do everything wrong, the things not to do in real estate. I've been doing this for almost 10 years now. I started as a fix and flipper in California. Did that. I started accumulating long-term holds and then also short-term rental holds as well. Moved across country from California to Tennessee. Thought I'd become Mr. Flip It, skinned my knees, fell to the ground, bounced back up. Since then, have done hundreds of flips. I've done turnkey rentals for out-of-state properties and out-of-state investors. Most currently, I've done development from the ground up. So I'm one of those guys who's kind of dabbled in a little bit of everything. So from my experience, I can tell investors exactly what not to do if they want to get financially free fast, what not to do if they don't want to lose gobs of money at times. It hasn't happened all the time, but it was those times that I skinned my knees that I learned the most. And it's from my mistakes that I'm hoping to teach and empower other investors, whether you're sitting on the sidelines, just interested, or you're already in it with a W-2 or fully in it as your full occupation. So there's universal principles and truths in this business. And I just feel so privileged and fortunate to have gone through these so that I can steer people away from all these pitfalls.
Yeah, right on. I admire your transparency. And, the fact is that, we talk about here at Clark Street, we talk about, there really aren't mistakes, right? There's simply opportunities to learn. And, try not to do it twice, right?
3, 4, 5 times.
Yeah, exactly. Right. We try our best. But, the thing that I most admire about what you just said and how you present yourself to the world and how you operate is you're very quick to say, hey, look, I was thinking George Costanza when you were saying, do the opposite of what I
love that
suggest,
episode.
Right? We're dating each other. You know that, right? Because everybody's like, who's George Costanza? But the right people will get it. So it's okay. So but the fact is that, being able to be vulnerable and be transparent and say, hey, look, I got this one right, but I totally blew that one. And here's what I'd do different next time, right? Is really valuable for folks like the people in our audience, for instance. And, frankly, people like me, I'm always looking to get smarter, right? And sometimes I get smarter by listening to other people's mistakes. And sometimes I get smarter about making my own mistakes. Right.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I forget who said it, but the best way to learn is to learn from other people's mistakes. However, if you make the mistakes yourself, it's going to probably hurt enough that you hopefully, will only have to do that once. And I'll give a quick story. I was doing pretty well in California. I was working for a contractor at the time, meaning I knew the ins and outs of construction. I teamed up with a realtor buddy of mine who I grew up with, who I could trust implicitly. And I had the contacts with construction. I had my realtor buddy on the front and the back end, and I was in the middle of the project. And so in California, I was making all these mistakes, but they weren't seen as mistakes because I had people that could cover those things up.
Right.
And it didn't become completely apparent until I moved to Nashville, where I knew nobody. And there's a phenomenal book Gary Keller wrote, The Millionaire Real Estate Investor. And that is like the playbook of becoming a real estate investor. I just love that book. It's a fundamental book that I will go back to time and time again. And with that book, he talks about building a team.
Yep.
Well, I had a team in California. I didn't have a team in Nashville, didn't know anybody. So I found a realtor, I found a contractor, I was looking for the deals myself. And I made all these mistakes that I didn't realize were mistakes at the time, because in California, I could trust my contractors because I knew them personally. I could trust my realtor because I knew him personally. And it wasn't that the contractor in Nashville was bad or the realtor was bad, but they just didn't care about my project as much as I did.
Invested, right? Absolutely.
Exactly. And so I made things like I was fudging my numbers unknowingly, like kind of padding the numbers, thinking the construction would would be less than it was, thinking the ARV was higher than it was, and all of this and that, and just itching to do a deal. And anytime you're anxious to do a deal or you're itching to do a deal and you just jump into it, yeah, that was mistake number one. They always say you make the money on the back end of the deal when you sell it, or sorry, when you buy it.
Yeah, right on. No, I hear you.
You make the money on the
money on the back end. You make it.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. And so I learned that lesson. I learned the importance of setting the right expectations with your realtor, with your contractor, with everybody, knowing your numbers inside and out, and making sure there's a little bit of a buffer, because 4-6 months from now, when the project is done and you're trying to sell it, if it's a flip or what have you, you just don't know what the economy is going to look like. We this past year, boom, feds instantly raised rates on us overnight. COVID happened overnight. All of these things are going to happen. So I lost on that first deal in Nashville. I lost $35,000. I was so short on money because I was leveraged between several projects, which was another learning lesson, that I couldn't even pay for my wedding 2 weeks before I was supposed to get married. And we were going to pay all of our vendors. They were coming asking for their money so that they would show up to the wedding. And I scrambled, ended up selling a flip that I made almost no money on. Meanwhile, losing, my shirt, so to speak, on this other deal. But it was from those first few deals in Nashville that I got that university, that $35,000 university degree that you don't get in school. I got that by just diving feet first. It was ready, fire, aim instead of ready, aim, fire. And, as good as that learning lesson was, there's so many ways you can learn, and just listen to the smart people. I'm not saying I'm the smartest person around, but I have enough bumps and bruises, and I've bounced back so many times in my career that I do have authority to tell you about my experience and what I know. But there's so many other great people out there that are saying similar things, and success leaves clues. So if you're listening to these people, take what they say. If you can trust them, take what they say and have faith that you want to follow your numbers. You want to set up the right expectations. It's so easy to fudge numbers in this business to make it look a little bit better. Anytime I've tried to manipulate numbers to make it more rosy looking, found myself getting in trouble. So
yeah, it's so true. It's so easy, as an investor, as someone who is really excited about a potential opportunity, someone who's, like you were saying, itching to get that deal right. It's so easy to shave a little here and add a little there and convince yourself that, we can figure it out. You know what? You're not going to figure it out. You got to nail your numbers right from day one. And so, what you're saying is really important. But the other thing I'm hearing in your comments is all equally important, and that is perseverance, right? The fact is that I found that the people that figure out how to stick in this business, understand that they're going to make mistakes. They're going to stub their toe. Some people lose money, some don't. Some people squeak by. I've had a handful of squeakers in my day, where you spend 6 months on a flip and you make $400. Yeah, I've been that guy, right? It was the first one I ever did. But the fact is that if you're clear on why you're doing it, it makes it a whole lot easier to get back off the deck when you're on your back, right?
Yeah, exactly. If you have a goal to reach, let's say, financial freedom, something like that, whatever financial freedom means to you, because there's a lot of different definitions of that. But let's just say it's $5,000 a month, $10,000 a month, pay for your expenses. Right. That's your goal. Well, that's great. But when you're in the thick of it, in the fire, because you're going to be in the fire if you get into this business. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Even if you're a passive investor, there's still things you got to go through. And the why is what keeps you going. Yeah. That's what has changed my life, is just knowing what my why is and making it so important that days that I'm down, the days that things are getting tough, the days that the obstacles seem sometimes insurmountable, it's your why that's going to keep you going. And then the how, the mechanics of what you're doing, that comes last. You need to know first, get crystal clear on what you want. That brings clarity. With clarity comes confidence. And then from there, figure out why the heck you're doing this. And it better be something super important, because if it's not, when things get tough, you're going to give up. You're going to try something else. It might not even look like giving up. You're just going to get distracted and try something else. And, for me, for years, I tell you, I'm the guy to talk to about making mistakes and how to learn from these things. I was the investor with the shiny object syndrome. There's a reason why I went from fix and flip to long-term, to short-term, to turnkey, to development. I've done all of these things because I get distracted, because what's preventing me from becoming financially free, and I did it this year, but what was preventing me was actually, I like to call it the 6 inches of real estate in between your ears. So whether you haven't even gotten in the game yet, you're just mostly checking out RIAs or watching podcast or listening to podcasts, reading books, whatever you're doing, from the person who's been in it 10, 20, 30 years, you're only going to hit a certain place. They call it the glass ceiling. You're going to only get to the level of where you are in your mindset. And for years, it took me, I didn't understand why. I was like, I'm trying this, I'm trying that. I'm partnering up with these people. I'm partnering up with those people. I'm doing these deals. I've done hundreds of deals in my career. And for me to take almost a decade to become financially free, it was because until I leveled up my mindset and my mind game, until I leveled that up, I wasn't going to get the results that I was looking for. It would always seem like this elusive thing. I'd get close to being financially free and then something would happen, whether it was me or I would blame somebody else or a partner that didn't, the relationship didn't go the right way, whatever. But when it comes back to it, you have to look back on yourself and ask yourself the question, what is it? What obstacle is preventing me from getting to that next level, breaking through that glass ceiling, making it to the next part? And once I realized that and started working on myself and my mindset, whether it comes to real estate, money, my capabilities, these limiting beliefs that I've held since I was a child, until I worked on that, I wasn't going to make any more money. I wasn't going to make it to that next level. I wasn't going to craft those relationships with the people that I needed to craft to get myself to the next level. And for me, I teach mindset. You could teach strategies, and there's a lot of good people that have phenomenal strategies, but until you get the mindset part of it down, you're not going to get to where you want to go.
So true. So true. Yeah. I mean, the thing is that we were talking about it before we pressed record, I affectionately refer to the folks that stop you in the grocery store, the dreamers, right? The ones that were like, oh man, I saw you on this, or I heard about you on that, or I read this about you. And man, I wish I could do what you do for a living. And my question is always, well, what the heck's stopping you? Right. And I usually get a version of three answers, right? Oh man, I just don't know where to find the deals. Oh, I don't have any money and I don't know where to raise it. Oh, I work, a bazillion hours a week. I've got wife, a kids, I've got parents I'm helping out, and yada, yada, yada. And all of it's true, right? All of those things are really hard. But the fact is that when I dig into those folks, almost always it comes down to mindset, and really it comes down to fear, right? I'm afraid of something. And it could be the voice in your head that's telling you you're not capable or you don't deserve it, or it could be any number of things. But in all, until you get your head right, taking that first step is hard. And in fact, even if you have your head right, taking that first step, buying that first property, it can be terrifying, and it should be, right? It's a lot of responsibility, right? You're providing a home for someone in some way, shape, or form. You have vendors and contractors who are counting on you to pay your bills. You have investors who are counting on you to take good care of their money and return back even more. It's a lot of responsibility. If it doesn't freak you out, stop, because it should.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly. It's an adult game. It is not a child's game, and it isn't for it's not for the faint of heart. That's for darn sure.
Yeah.
And
so when you got into real estate, obviously you're a smart guy, you're capable, and you've done a lot of different things within the real estate world. So that informs me that you could probably do a lot of different things, not even outside the real estate world, to make a living. Why real estate?
Well, at the time, my background is structural engineering. I was raised, my pedigree is in structural engineering. I ended up going to Berkeley for graduate school.
So you're really smart. Okay.
Very analytical, very much engineer brained. And, for all you engineers out there, or you math people or whatever, you can do this. Yes, you got to work on people skills and relationships, because that is a necessary part of this business. But I've done it. And I was that stereotypical engineer. I went to freaking Cal, for crying out loud. Like, it was ranked the top university above MIT, Texas, Stanford. I got into all those schools. Like, I'm not saying that to impress anybody. I'm saying that to impress upon people that you can do whatever you want to do. We're all at different places, but it is possible. Anything is possible as long as you believe it. And so I was working for a contractor at the time as a structural engineer and as a construction manager. And like I said, a buddy of mine came up to me, a realtor. He's like, hey, do you want to flip this house? I'm like, this was like 9 years ago. I was thinking, flip? Like, I know Chip and Joanne Gaines do something like this on Fixer Upper, which was a TV show I absolutely loved.
Kinda.
Kinda.
Yeah, flipping's easy when you get all the materials for free.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And yeah, those numbers aren't real. Ask me how I know. I've been the structural engineer for a lot of those TV shows, actually.
My wife wouldn't watch that show because I'd be like, that number's too low. That number's too low. There's no way it costs that, right?
But it's beautiful. It's beautiful for the dream and for the idea. Yeah, and I think what it did, it kind of left an imprint in me. And so when he said that, I was like, well, I know construction pretty well. Like we've done a few remodels for clients and all of that. So he's like, here are the numbers. This is a guarantee, infamous, this is a guarantee, right?
Home run.
Yeah. Well, ended up being that we did a short sale. He specialized in short sales. And for anybody listening, short sale essentially means you're avoiding foreclosure. It's great for everybody. It's great for the bank. It's great for the investor. And it's great for the people. We gave them $8,000 cash for keys, essentially to walk out. They had another living situation already set up. So it was a win-win-win. We ended up going, it was just a lipstick rehab, which means very light rehab. We didn't get into anything super crazy, more cosmetic stuff than anything else. And did my first flip since I was working a W-2. I got bank financing, which was great because I only needed to put 10% down because I said it was a secondary home, and did my first flip. We sold it, and my partner and I ended up splitting net 90 grand off of our first flip. We didn't even have 90 grand in the deal. And from then on, I started to pick up more properties with that partner. And this is the great thing about real estate. If you really want to push things forward, there's three things you can contribute to real estate. There's time, there's treasure, which is money, and there's talent. And so ask yourself the question, what do I have out of these? Some people, like they said, they don't have the time. But maybe they have the money. They have a high paying job.
Yep.
So they could be the financial backer. Maybe there's someone who, like myself, was a project manager and knew construction and could work on the construction part of it. Find the others, find the person with the money, find the person with the time. Managing, you can oversee management. You don't have to be on site 24/7. Make sure somebody probably is, but there's things you could do. And so that's really how I started. I was one of those people who kept my W-2, and I'm all for it. Yes, it takes a little bit longer, but at least you get to get your feet wet and try this out. But like I told you with Nashville, I did get my feet wet and I thought I knew everything. I thought that my stuff did not stink. And when you get to that point, oh man, life has a way of making you humble. Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah. And ever since then, I've stayed humble. That's for darn sure.
Yeah. And it's interesting. I'm here in the Northeast, so I'm up in Connecticut, you're in Tennessee. And, a lot of these markets across the country made geniuses out of everybody, right? I remember buying a ranch here in Connecticut. It was a nice ranch, 1,900 square feet. It was, it was banged up, but we bought it for 150, and I was hoping to get, 310 out of it, knowing that I was about to put 100 into it to get it right. And, we ended up spending about 105 on it, and the market exploded, and we ended up selling it for 385. Wow, what a great return. You must be a genius. I'm not. I got lucky, right?
Yeah.
It should have been a, $50,000 win.
Going great.
Yeah. And it turned into a windfall only because of the time that I bought it. That's it. I got lucky, right? And yes, luck favors the prepared mind, but that is not what happened on that deal, right? I just got lucky. Market exploded at the right time, and I happened to be holding the property. So you got to be careful, right? You got to make sure that, like you were saying earlier, you're making your money. You make your money on the buy, not the sale. That's the sale is when the money shows up. But the fact is, you got to have your numbers tight when you go to sign on the dotted line and start to put together a project plan. So tell me about your mentors. Obviously you're extremely well educated. I'm sure that you've had people who've kind of thrown an arm around you over the course of time. So I'm curious about the best advice you ever got and who gave it to you.
Oh my goodness. There's been so much good advice. I would say my first mentor, who actually was my boss at that construction company, he was grooming me to become the owner of the company. And I've learned so many great lessons from him. But he was an old school, grew up on a farm in the farm areas of California, and just had these great old school sayings. And the thing that I always have carried with me, John Maxwell, who is just another phenomenal person, leadership guy, he says this. He says, there's no such thing as business ethics. There's just ethics. And my old mentor taught that to me, but he said it in a different way. So my biological given name, as you said, is Matthew. My superhero name is Ace. But my old boss used to call me Mattress. That was his nickname for me, was Mattress. Everybody in construction needs a nickname, apparently. So he was like, Mattress, your reputation is like your virginity. Once it's gone, it's gone.
Right.
And that has stayed with me forever. That and John Maxwell, there's no such thing as business ethics. There's just ethics, because in this business, it's a people business. You have to treat people like people. And once you forget that, or you stop doing that, your reputation is not what you think you're doing. It's what other people say about you. It's what other people say when you have left the room.
Correct.
And once your reputation has been compromised, it's like your virginity. That sucker's gone, and it's gone forever.
Right on. I totally agree. I still have a mentor, Larry Chayton, and he had a sign behind his desk. I worked for him early 90s. And it said, always tell tell the truth, it's easier to remember.
Yep.
And, that one has stuck with me as well. So
I love that.
similar thing. But so I'm curious, you mentioned John Maxwell and a couple of other authors along the way. These days, it's not necessarily a physical book that people use to get smarter and learn. But, I'm just curious, sometimes it's a podcast or videos or, whatever. I'm curious how you consume information. And I'm also very curious about who you're paying attention to these days.
Yeah. No, I appreciate you asking that. When I wrote my book a little over a year ago, I jumped into YouTube University. I was born in the early 80s, so I just turned 40. And growing up, that's not how we consumed information. However, I learned through YouTube University, how to get just insane amounts of information, at the click of a button. Like, it is absolutely incredible. You have to be careful who you're listening to. So that comes with integrity and trust of whoever you're paying attention to. But yeah, YouTube has been, oh my gosh, it's been a godsend. I watched so much YouTube to learn from so many great people. I would say, these days, the people that I listen to the most are mindset people. Ed Milet being one. I know he's huge in the podcast world, but I love Ed Milet. And what I've learned through this process, especially the last 2 years, is that mindset is everything. And so I make it a focus, like learning real estate. There's tons of great real estate people you can reach out to with different strategies and ways of doing real estate. I've been doing this so long that I do it a certain way. However, I always like learning, and I could do that through my networks. However, these days I pay attention to my mindset, because I know I'm only limited by my own mind. And so, guys like Ed Milet, I'm a huge Andrew Huberman fan as well, for people that love the nervous system and learning about how to leverage their nervous system and get exponential results. He's a great person as well. So I would say those two guys right now. Obviously, me being an engineer, I love Huberman's dry podcasts, but they're just so interesting. And then Milet, with his enthusiasm and his ability to take complex things and make them really simple, it's incredible.
Yeah. Which is a talent, right? It's actually a sign of high intelligence when you're able to break it down for, us normal people. So let me ask you, I mean, you've done a lot in this industry, flips, long-term, short-term rentals, development. If you had to do it all over again, what would you do different?
This is one of the biggest things that I talk about, is focusing. They always tell you focus, focus, focus. And in real estate, as you know, if you focus on one thing, whether it's fix and flip or long-term holds, short-term holds, even, certain niches like probate and things like that, find something that interests you, find something you can learn, and really just focus on that. It's going to save you so much time and energy. I know some of this stuff isn't sexy, and it can get monotonous and boring over time, because it's the same thing over and over and over again. Trust me, when I was doing turnkey rentals, we did about 250 of those in 3 years, and it becomes rinse and repeat at that point. Looking at all the houses start looking the same, all the rehabs are the same, all the numbers are looking the same, and it got super boring. But at the same time, like, that's what you need to do if you really want to excel in this business. And then once you hit your goal of financial freedom, passive income, nest egg, whatever you want, once you hit that, then venture into something different, something cool and sexy or different, like short-term rentals or things like that. Then you can jump into that. But just focus for a couple years. Just give it laser focus. I have a business partner of mine, great business guy, doesn't know much about real estate. He became financially free in 18 months. It took me almost 10 years. He did it in 18 months, and I can run circles around this guy when it comes to my real estate knowledge. However, he was a great business owner. He had the right people around him, contractors, property managers, realtors, all of that. He built that team. He read that Gary Keller book. He did the right thing as a business owner and became financially free in 18 months. So it's possible. Some people have done it even faster than that. His stuff wasn't sexy. His market is not sexy. The houses are not sexy. His tenants are not sexy. It is the sexiest list, if that's a word, way of investing, but it got him his goal. And now we're doing short-term rentals, and we're having a ball with it. We're doing these cool, like Ferrari type investments. Like, it is awesome. But both him and I had to make sure that we took care of ourselves and hit our basic fundamental goals first, and then we can venture into the more risky type investments or the sexier investments.
It's interesting. Your story reminds me of the Jeffrey Moore, the venture capitalist, and he was an author before he was a VC. And he talked about in actually several of his books, Crossing the Chasm, Inside the Tornado, and whatnot, the bowling pin strategy, which basically was, if you've ever bowled and you think about how the pins are set up, there's one pin out front, and what he would say is, become world class at one thing, do one thing better than anybody else, serve your customers, and as you gain traction, then do the one-off of that, whatever that is. right? Pick one thing, be great at it, and then expand. And I couldn't agree more. I ignored that advice myself, but
Oh, yeah.
I've since kind of retrenched and focused, but I'm a multifamily guy only now. But the fact is that same thing. What took me 7-8 years to get to freedom, probably should have taken me a lot less.
Yeah.
And it was because I was trying to do 47 things at the same time. And
Right.
none of them well.
Yeah, exactly. You start doing too much and you're not doing any of them well.
Right.
I did property management myself for years. The minute I fired myself and got a real property manager in there, yes, I'm paying them 9-10%, but all that time, that energy that was expended in that, they're doing it so much better than me. And now I get to focus on what I'm really good at instead of messing around with tenants and toilets and all that crap. It was a complete waste of time, money, and energy.
Highest and best use. Yeah. And you can still do property management, asset management yourself. It's not how, it's who, right?
Yeah.
You hire a team. You hire the handyman, you hire the plumber and the electrician and the HVAC person and the person to catch the phone calls and the person to coordinate those vendors and make sure that rent's being collected and that rent's being increased over time and that expenses are being reduced as best you can, and all the things that you do, the basic blocking and tackling. You can hire people to do that, right? And so from my perspective, while I agree outsourcing property management is a great idea, if you don't have access to really good property managers, creating a light, basically a team of 1099 contractors to do all the things that you need done, and all you're doing is managing that system, also works really well. So
yeah,
a lot of different ways to do it. But you got to think about your highest and best use. So let me ask you, when you're not pontificating about real estate and mindset and being a superhero, what do you like to do? How do you spend your free time? If you have any.
Yeah. No. We have a men's group and we do adventure trips. And so, we get a group of guys together, me and actually my business partner, we lead it, and we get guys together a few times a year and we do bucket list items. Essentially, it's meant as a mindset breakthrough event, but it's a way to really knock off bucket list items. Like this year already, we've hiked the Grand Canyon, which has been phenomenal. Most beautiful place I have ever been to in my entire life. It was just magical. We've hiked the Appalachian Trail through the night. And so it's kind of almost like David Goggins type stuff too, because we're pushing ourselves really hard. I went on that Appalachian Trail. I started hiking at, I think it was hour 36 of being awake nonstop, going crazy. I love pushing myself. I love doing the painful things. Call me a masochist or what have you. I love that Goggins approach to life. And so, yeah. And so when we're doing things like that, or I just do that myself or with a buddy or two, we go hiking, we push ourselves. We do I just love being outside. I love pushing myself. And for me, that's relaxing. For me, that centers me. People might think it's crazy. I spend my Sundays not sitting around watching TV, what have you. I spend my Sundays planning out my week, getting ready for my mission. I also spend it on projects that I'm passionate about. I work for a nonprofit called Operation Rescue Children. So if anybody's watched Sound of Freedom, that's Operation Underground Railroad that Tim Ballard started, but we do similar things as them. And I love working on that nonprofit. I don't get paid anything, but it's a passion project of mine. So I love working on passion projects, whether it's me physically exerting myself or me giving my time, like I said, either it's my time, my treasures, or my talents. And for ORC, Operation Rescue Children, I get to give all three, and it just fills me up.
It's amazing what actually contributing to the betterment of human beings on a semi-regular basis does for you, right? It's amazing what you get out of it, right?
Exactly. Oh yeah, it's crazy.
We're involved with a similar organization called Marisi, which is I met through Tony Robbins, as a matter of fact. And same thing. It's, we donate money and time and expertise to help them, go pull children out of sex trafficking situations in the Far East. And
that's amazing.
It's amazing. $500 saves 2 kids. And so, it's from a marketing perspective, we help them with, helping them raise money, and obviously we contribute with every deal we do, and, a whole bunch of other stuff. But the fact is that it not only feels good, karma is a real thing, right? It does come back to you. I wholeheartedly agree with that.
Yeah. If anybody listening who has a mindset issue when it comes to making money or having money, think about it this way. If you're pulling in $10K a month, who needs to live off $10K? Let's say, your basic stuff. You live an average approach life right now. Like if you're pulling in 10K a month, 15K a month, imagine what you could do. Like you said, $500 saves 2 children. Are you freaking kidding me? That you not making money is actually wrong. You not leveling up for your family and people all over the world so you can give back financially, you're selfish. So making money is not selfish. Not making money is selfish.
That's well said. Well said. So Ace, if someone wants to hear more about you, your business, or they want to read your book, Superhero by Design, or they want to become a superhero, what's the best way to reach you and learn more about what you do for a living?
Yeah, definitely go to my website, superherobydesign.com. Go there, fill out the information on the front page. I think it's just your name and your email. And I'm actually right now giving away my book for free, a free ebook. So all you have to do is go to superherobydesign.com, sign up, and you'll be getting my newsletter. You'll be getting the free ebook. And starting in like the next week or two, the mastermind, Superhero by Design mastermind community is getting started. And it's a place essentially where people can come and essentially grow and learn. Those are the 2 pillars I live my life by. It's fundamentally changed my life. I'm constantly growing and I'm constantly giving. And I want to bring other people that love to grow and love to give together in a community where they can learn more, they can give more, and it's just a win-win for everybody.
That's amazing. Yeah, it's I'm looking forward to learning more about that myself. So Ace Haggerty, thank you so much for your time today. It's been a great conversation and I wish you well, my friend.
I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much for having me on.
Good to see you.
This has been the Real Estate Underground podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe. It helps us grow. Until next time, happy investing.